Indigenous Services Canada has announced new operational changes to Jordan's Principle to, in their words, help the long-term sustainability of the program. Now, applicants must demonstrate how the request meets the distinct needs of the First Nations child and how the child experienced gaps, delays, or denial in accessing government services. Certain items and services will no longer be approved. In a Tuesday interview with APTN, Indigenous Services Minister Patty Haiju discussed why the changes were needed.
We have to have a better process to streamline requests and to make sure that the information with each request is really clearly identified to, first of all, determine, in some cases, who the child is, and secondly, to determine how that child not having access to that services is in any way delaying or harming their outcomes from a health or a social perspective.
Between 2021 and 2022, there were 614,250 Jordan's Principle requests. In 2023 to 2024, that jumped to nearly 3 million requests, a 367% increase. All future requests will require a letter of support from a health professional, educational professional, or elder or knowledge keeper that demonstrates how it fulfills an unmet need. Requests including the purchase or construction of homes, tickets to sporting events, non-medical international travel, administrative fees, school-related requests will no longer be approved unless funding is required by substantive equality.
We believe at the federal government that every child does deserve equity and access to education supports and to health supports to ensure the best success for that child. But we also believe that provinces and territories have a responsibility within their own jurisdiction to provide equity in education.
Back in December, the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs held a meeting in Winnipeg where First Nations leaders and administrators voiced concerns about the Jordan's Principle system.
In my close to 30 years as an administrator of programs in the First Nations, never been involved in a situation where there were no guidelines for expenditures. There were no guidelines for ineligible activities. There were no guidelines for eligible activities.
Jordan's Principle requests are divided into individual and group requests and are labeled as urgent or non-urgent. In 2022, ISC implemented a back-to-basics approach, allowing the applicant to determine whether the request was urgent. However, this resulted in a 900% increase in urgent requests between 2021 and 2022 and 2022 to 2023. It also resulted in seemingly non-essential items and services, including modeling headshots, gaming consoles, and zipline kits, being classified as urgent. In late January, the father of Jordan River Anderson, the program's namesake, condemned the alleged misuse, aiming his criticism at the First Nation program administrators.
My son's name is being misused and misled. It's sad. We trusted you guys. You were to be born leaders, not to be born fools.
According to ISC, Jordan's Principle has received $8.8 billion in funding to date, and more than 8.7 million products, services, and supports have been approved since 2016. As of December 2024, $6.44 billion was spent on Jordan's Principle requests. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.